In this video, I'm going to show you a very easy way of multiplying fractions such as these. Now, what I'm going to show you first is the conventional way of multiplying fractions so you can compare the two methods. So let's have a look at question number 1 here, where we have 4/10 multiplied by 25 over 16. So the conventional way of multiplying fractions together is simply to multiply the numerators together. So in this case, 4 times 25 gives me 100, and then multiply the denominators together. So 10 times 16 gives me 160. But now this answer needs to be reduced. So I can reduce those zeros there. That's like dividing both the top and the bottom of the fraction by 10. That's going to give me 10 over 16. So 10 over 16 can be reduced further. I can divide both the top and the bottom by 2, which leaves me with 5 over 8. Now you might be thinking, well, that wasn't too bad. But how about if you had to do that same method on this question right here, number 2, where we got 49 over 15 times by 45 over 21. Now, I wouldn't want to have to work out what 49 times by 45 was. I mean, apparently I had to get a calculator for this. It's 2,205, and then 15 times 21 is 315, and then I've got to reduce this thing. I mean, I guess 5 goes into there. So I can say, well, 5's going to there, 441 times, 5 goes into 315, 63 times. It's terrible, just horrible. We don't want to be doing that way, is what I'm saying. And after all that reducing, we eventually get down to the answer of 7. But nobody wants to do that. That's not a nice way of doing it. So let's see how to do these same two questions using the easy way of multiplying fractions. Okay, so I'm going to clear the page there, and let's start again. So the easy way of multiplying fractions is to reduce the fractions first. Now the rules for reducing fractions are as follows. It has to be when you're multiplying fractions, so they have to be multiplying, and it has to be something on the top reduces with something on the bottom. So like for example, in this question here, the 4 and the 16 will reduce because 4 goes into 4 once and 4 goes into 16 4 times. So this question now becomes 1 over 10 times by 25 over 4. And already this is looking much nicer. Now, how about the 10 and the 25? Okay, so I'm thinking what number divides into both of these numbers? And I'm thinking 5. 5 goes into 10 twice, 5 goes into 25 5 times. So this fraction now becomes 1 over 2 times by 5 over 4. Much, much easier to do now. Now there's nothing that will reduce any further here. So I simply multiply the numerators together. So 1 times 5 is 5, and then I multiply the denominators together and get 2 times 4 is 8. So we get the same answer I got before, 5/8, but in a very simple way. So the key here is to reduce the fraction before you multiply. It makes things so much easier. And let's prove that by doing the same thing to this horrible looking thing in number 2. Okay, so for number 2, let's see what will reduce. What number will divide into something on the top and something in the bottom? Now, I'm looking at my 49 and 21, and I think, those are multiples of 7. So I'm thinking 7 will divide into both of those. So 7 goes into 49 7 times, 7 goes into 21 3 times. That's going to leave me with 7 over 15 times by 45 over 3. It's already looking better. Now, I'm looking at the 15 and looking at the 45, and I'm thinking 5 will go into those. So I'm going to divide 5 into the 15 to give me 3 times, 5 into the 45 to give me 9 times. So that's going to leave me with 7 over 3 times by 9 over 3. The 9 and the 3 will divide as well. It doesn't matter which 3 I choose. As long as I'm choosing something on the top and something on the bottom, we can carry on reducing. So I'm going to choose those two. 3 into 3 goes once. 3 into 9 goes 3 times. That's going to give me 7 over 1 times by 3 over 3. Now, I can reduce the 3 and the 3. I can say, well, 3 goes into 3 once, 3 goes into 3 once, so I'm left with 7 over 1 times by 1 over 1. And now, nothing else will reduce, so 7 times 1 is 1, 1 times 1 is 1, 7 over 1 is 7. So that was way easier than the previous attempt where we had all those horrible high numbers. So the key here is to always reduce your fractions before you multiply them. And always remember when you're reducing, it has to be a number on the top, reducing with a number on the bottom. Now let's see how to deal with multiplying mixed numbers. So in this example, I've got 7 1/5 multiplied by 3 8/9. The key here is to convert the mixed numbers into improper fractions first. So I'm going to start off with my 7 1/5 and convert that into an improper fraction. So I write my denominator down on the bottom, so I've got my 5 right there, and then I multiply my 5 by my mixed number and add the 1. So 7 times 5 plus 1 is going to give me 36 over 5. So 7 1/5 is exactly the same thing as 36 over 5. Now let's do the same thing with the 3 8/9. So I put the 9 down on the bottom, so the denominator stays the same, and then it's the denominator times by the whole number, so 3 times 9, and then I'm adding the 8 on top of that. So 3 times 9 plus 8 is going to give me 35 over 9. So I converted these mixed numbers into improper fractions, and I'm left with 36 over 5 times by 35 over 9. Now I'm going to treat this just like we did earlier. So I'm going to try to reduce anything on the top with anything on the bottom that I can see. Now the first thing I notice here is 5's going to 5's once, and 5's going to 35 7 times. So this is going to become 36 over 1 times by 7 over 9. Then I'm thinking, look at that 36 and 9. 9 goes into both of them. So 9's going to 36 4 times, and 9 goes into 9 once. So I've got 4 over 1 times by 7 over 1, which is going to leave me with 28 over 1, or 28. So my answer here is simply 28. Alright, now let's have a look at a quick summary of what we've been talking about for multiplying fractions together. So step 1, turn any mixed numbers into improper fractions before we begin. Step number 2, reduce the resulting fractions as much as possible before we multiply. And step number 3, multiply the denominators together and then multiply the numerators together, and that's our answer. Okay, so now it's quiz time. Let's see if we can apply these 3 steps to these 3 questions here. So you may want to pause the video here and have a go at these, and then restart the video and I'll go through the answers together with you. Good luck. Okay, so welcome back. Let's have a look at your answer to number 1. So we had 99 over 25 times by 30 over 44. Now the first thing I noticed here is 11 goes into both the 99 and the 44. It goes into 99 9 times, and it goes into 44 4 times. So I have 9 over 25 times by 30 over 4. Great. Then I'm looking at the 25 and the 30 and I'm thinking, 5 goes into both of those. So 5 goes into 25 5 times, 5 goes into 36 times, so I've got 9 over 5 times by 6 over 4. Great, now let's see if anything else will reduce. Well, actually it will. I have the 6 and I have the 4. 2 will go into both of those. Now it doesn't matter that the 6 is directly over the 4. You're allowed to do that as long as it's one number on the top and one number on the bottom. We can carry on reducing. So I'm going to reduce the 6 by dividing it by 2. That gives me a 3. And the 2 divided by 2 gives me a 2. So I have 9 over 5 times by 3 over 2. Now nothing else will reduce here. Notice I cannot reduce the 9 and the 3 because they're both numerators. They're both on the top. I need to have something on the top and something on the bottom. So nothing else I can do here. So I'm simply going to multiply the numerators together. So 9 times 3 gives me 27. Now I'm going to multiply the denominators together. 5 times 2 gives me 10. And my last step is to simply convert this into a mixed number. So 27 over 10 goes twice, and 7/10 left. Great, so our answer there was 2 7/10. So let's have a look at number 2. Now this one seems a little more complicated because we have 3 fractions multiplying with each other, but it's exactly the same deal as before. We're going to reduce anything on the top with anything on the bottom. Now the first thing I noticed was 13 goes into 39 exactly 3 times. So I replaced the 39 by 3 and I replaced the 13 by 1. So that gives me 3 over 12 times by 36 over 1 times by 30 over 40. Now the next thing I noticed is that 12 goes into 36 exactly 3 times. So I can replace the 12 by a 1 and I can replace the 36 by a 3. And I also noticed that 30 and 40 reduce as well. So I can cross off the zeros from the 30 and the 40. It's the equivalent of dividing by 10. So that's going to leave me with 3 over 1 times by 3 over 1 times by 3 over 4. Nothing else will reduce here, so when I multiply the numerators together, 3 times 3 times 3 gives me 27, and 1 times 1 times 4 gives me 4 on the bottom. So I have 27 over 4. If I wanted to turn that into a mixed number, I say, well, how many times does 4 go into 27? It goes 6 times, and I have 3/4 left over. So 6 3/4 is my answer there. Now, with number 3, we've got find the area of a triangle which has a base of 10 1/5 inches long and a height of 1 13/17 inches high. Now, we're trying to find the area here. So it's half base times height. That's the formula for the area of a triangle. Now, we have the base and we have the height. So we're actually trying to find 1/2 times by 10 1/5 times by 1 13/17. And that would give me my area. Now, let's see what we're going to do first. Well, we have to convert those mixed numbers into improper fractions before we begin. So let's start with the 10 1/5. 10 times 5 is 50, plus the 1 is 51 over the 5. So 10 1/5 becomes 51 over 5. Now let's deal with the 1 13/17. 1 times 17 is 17, plus 13 is 30. So I get 30 over 17. So my area now is going to be 1/2 times by 51 over 5 times by 30 over 17. Let's see what we reduce here. So the first thing I noticed is 17 goes into 51 exactly 3 times. So I'm replacing the 51 by a 3 and the 17 by a 1. And also the 5 and the 30 will cancel as well. 5 goes into 5 once, 5 goes into 36 times. So I'm left with 1/2 times by 3 over 1 times by 6 over 1. So let's see if anything else will reduce. Yes, I guess the 6 and the 2 will reduce there. I can say 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into 6 3 times. So I'm replacing that by 1 over 1 times by 3 over 1 times by 3 over 1. Nothing else will cancel here. So I'm simply going to multiply all the numerators together. 1 times 3 is 9. And multiply all the denominators together. 1 times 1 times 1 is 1, leaving me with an answer of 9. So 9 square inches is the area of our triangle. So what we start here then is by reducing the fractions first before we multiply them. It makes it much easier to deal with. And if we have mixed numbers, simply convert them into improper fractions before we try to multiply them. I hope you found this useful. My name is Dr. Stuart Donnelly, and thank you for watching.